The Mike Wagner Show is powered by Sonic Web Studios.
Hi, this is Mia Mosinzia, also known as Mia No Time for Love. Check out my latest book, Missing, available in print and ebook formats on Amazon.
It's now time for the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios and sponsored by international award-winning author Mia Mosinzia of Missing. The Mike Wagner Show can be heard on over 40 podcast platforms, as well as HamiltonRadio.net, Diamonds FM, and themikewagnershow.com. We can be heard in over 100 countries, featuring over 1,000 well-known and amazing guests throughout the globe. And named one of the top 100 global podcasts in the New York Weekly Times, Hollywood Entertainment News, Los Angeles Weekly Times, Apple, and Chartable. So sit back and relax and enjoy another great episode of the award-winning Mike Wagner Show.
Hey everybody, it's Mike from the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Looking at a professional website without breaking your budget? Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs at below the competition rate. Call today, 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show, get 20% off your first project. Sonic Web Studios, take your image to the next level. Also, time to give official shout out to our official sponsor of the Mike Wagner Show, international warring author Mia Mosinzia. If you love fast-paced mysteries, you'll love Missing by Mia Mosinzia, available on Amazon in paperback and ebook. Missing is fast-paced and intriguing with an unforgettable twist. Takes place in 4 countries, 2 strangers, 1 target, where truth is illusion and those you love will be the first to go missing. It's available on Amazon in paperback and ebook. Missing by Mia Mosinzia has garnered great reviews, and Eve Levin enjoys by Howard celebrities, including Joanna Cassidy, Forbes writing M&M's. So grab your copy today for Goes Missing by Mia Mosinzia, available on Amazon. Also, check out the Mike Wagner Show at themikewagnershow.com and over 40 podcast platforms heard in over 100 countries, including Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also, Anchor FM, iTunes, Google Play, Amazon, Audible, Apple Music, and more. Also on HamiltonRadio.net, Diamonds FM, Oldies Radio, and a few networks coming soon. Take the Mike Wagner Show with you on any mobile device. Subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel. Follow the Mike Wagner Show on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok today. And for great gift ideas, go to Amazon.com and check out the Mike Wagner Show podcast. T-shirts, pop sockets, throw pillows, tote bags, hoodies, baseball gear. Makes great gifts 24/7. Go to Amazon.com and check out the Mike Wagner Show podcast. And for more great gift ideas, go to Amazon.com/Mia Mosinzia for great books like Missing, Once, and Wrinkles. Also T-shirts, pop sockets, hoodies, phone cases, and more. Amazon.com/Mia Mosinzia. Check it out today. Help support the Mike Wagner Show on Anchor FM, PayPal, and the MikeWagnerShow.com. Make sure you give generously today. We're here with a terrific gentleman who spent his entire life in Miami and a career in the drywall trade before becoming an author. He was fascinated with a gentleman named Lilraythompson, a local legend, obsessed with the story after meeting and befriending him. And his new book is a literary mix between Blow and The Wolf of Wall Street, which is covering everything and anything from the lawlessness to lifestyle of the world as well, traces, and of course you also got Lilraythompson's life from his first job to becoming the top players in the 70s and 80s in Miami's drug scene. And we have a gentleman who's going to talk about the book, A King of Miami, which basically called the Scarface of the 21st century, and just talk about the book of Lil Ray. Live, ladies and gentlemen, from the Plus Studios in beautiful downtown Miami. If he's not working drywall, he's writing about this book and talking about the King of Miami. Ladies and gentlemen, the King of Miami himself. Ladies and gentlemen, author Eric Sande. Eric, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you. How you doing? Thank you very much for inviting me.
Well, it's great to have you on board, Eric. So you spent your entire life in Miami and career in the drywall trade before becoming an author. You've been fascinated with Lilraythompson as a local legend, and of course, you've been obsessed with the story of meeting in, and you became friends with him later on. Your new book is the literary mix between Blow and The Wolf of Wall Street, and covers everything and anything from the lawlessness and the lifestyle of the scene, traces, and also of Lilraythompson's life from his first job to becoming a top player in the 70s and 80s Miami drug scene. And the book is called The King of Miami, basically just tracing his life about it. And, it's captivating and, of course, compelling true crime life drama. And before getting all that, Eric, tell us how you first got started.
Well, I first heard about the guy Ray when I was about 10, 11 years old. Family friend worked for him, and he was a younger gentleman. When I say younger, back then I was little, but looking back, he was like 21, 22 when he first started working for Ray. And he was best friends with my uncle, and I was pretty close to my uncles. And so I kind of saw who my uncle was friends with. And this guy had all these, really expensive cars. Back then, some of his cars cost almost as much as our house that we lived in. So it was pretty interesting to me. And the guy was young. Wasn't like he was older and an attorney or had some type of a corporate job. He was young, long blonde hair. So I knew there was something more to the story. And my uncle would kind of tell me what was really going on. He was a boat captain for a guy that they pretty much, he was in control of a smuggling empire. He was one of the largest marijuana smugglers from the 70s and early 80s. And so that's what kind of first got me interested, when I was very young.
Mm-hmm. And what was it one precise moment that simply influenced you into writing about the book about Lil Ray?
I guess over the years, me and my uncle would talk to different people about Little Ray, and they just every time we would tell somebody the story, they would just say, "Wow, that needs to be a movie. Should be a movie." And I, of course, I always thought the same thing. And the more I thought about it, I was making some good money in 2010. And I said, I'm going to spend a little bit of my time and do a lot of research. And that's when I first became friends with Ray. And at the same time, I was going to the courthouse, doing some research, and was able to, meet him and go in there and spend time with him, spend, a few years visiting him and becoming pretty good friends with the guy. At one time, I considered us to be really good friends. And but people say, he murdered people, so he's a bad guy, and it's just something that I've had to figure out in my life of, do I want to be friends with a guy that murdered people? And I don't know. I just think that he did it as a way of survival. It's like, murder these people, or they're going to go to the police and tell them what I do. And back then, they would charge him with enough crimes that he would literally be on death row himself, just for the organization that he ran. So it was a tough thing to wrestle with, but I have a lot of pictures of him where he's with his kids, and every one of them he's either hugging them or doing something very intimate with his kids. So I was very sure that he was a man that loved his kids, and he didn't get into the drug smuggling, business to murder people. But when you get to a certain size and people want to, kind of take advantage of you and tell you, hey, I want this or that, or I'm going to go to the police. Eventually, you gotta, set the, set the standards and take care of it. It's unfortunate, but I don't know if it's right for anybody to kill somebody, to be honest with you. But probably not. Probably not the right thing to do, because he suffered some major karma for it. And but that's kind of what I took from the story was was, how a guy stole 600 grand from him, which is a 20-year friend, very close friend. Did a lot of partying with him. They were even roommates back when Ray was poor, trying to make ends meet. And the guy steals 600 grand from him. Then he goes to the police and tells the police that he stole 600 grand from Ray, and now Ray has a contract on his life. And he tells the DEA and everybody else that he basically, is a drug smuggler. So all the different agencies know what's going on with Ray. So they start investigating everything about him. And then they finally catch him one night at a bar. And the guy that was best friends with my uncle just happened to see him at a bar. And back in the 80s, the guy that was best friends with my uncle, Robert, he was a young guy. He was a boat captain for Ray. Basically, Ray would bring in marijuana. It was never cocaine. So he needed very large, yachts to bring in 15,000 pounds of marijuana on each boat. Mm-hmm. So they were very expensive yachts back then. And so basically Robert, the guy that I was kind of like idolized, he was a boat captain, and he would have to wear the khakis, the hat, and dress shirt, all this stuff. And Ray would hire old people to sit on the back of the yachts and basically just sip champagne. And if the Coast Guard or if anybody came up to him, it just looked like a couple older people were out on the yacht for the day, and Robert was the one they paid the captain of the boat. That was the captain of their yacht, basically. It was a pretty elaborate system that he had there, but it worked out pretty good. And so it just so many different things that kind of fascinated me about it. But I don't think that it was ever right to kill anybody, because when he killed his best friend, 9 months later, he had a son, a 7-year-old son, was killed, 2 days before Christmas.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so he kills the guy basically on March 12th of 1982, the guy that steals 600 grand from him. And then on December 23rd of 1982, the same year, 9 months, basically I spent enough time thinking about it. The time it takes to create a child in the womb was the time that he killed his friend that ripped him off. From December 23rd, 2 days before Christmas, basically Ray lived the life of, he snorted he snorted $2,000 a day, basically an ounce of coke a day he would snort.
Wow.
So he snorted $2,000 a day worth of coke, and he did that for 6 days straight. And on the 7th day, he would go home. Truthfully, he would take a bunch of Quaaludes and he'd sleep for 24 hours straight.
Wow.
And so he gets home, a couple days before Christmas, and the wife, she wants to go Christmas shopping. So Ray said, yeah, go ahead. And they give the boy, his son, Charlie boy, gives him his early Christmas present, the bicycle. And he says to Ray, hey, can I go down the street and show so-and-so my bicycle? And he's like, yeah, go ahead. And the next thing Ray knows, he's laying on the couch. The cleaning lady's beating down the door saying, hey, you need to come out here. And he goes out there, and the lady was coming home from a Christmas party, and she was pretty well intoxicated. Well, she hit Charlie boy on his bicycle, dragged him 100 feet, then dragged his bicycle another 100 feet before the bike was ejected out the back of the vehicle. And this is in a gated island community in South Florida where other gangsters have lived. Meyer Lansky lived right down the street from them. And if you remember, I don't know if you've seen the movie, it's a recent movie with Joe Pesci, Al Pacino, all these guys played in this movie, just a recent movie came out a couple years ago, but anyway, it had the guy Joe Pro in it. It was about Jimmy Hoffa.
It was I'm trying to think what that was a movie Hoffa, right?
Yeah. And Al
That
Pacino.
was it. I remember that classic. Yeah, we watched that. We followed up with The Irishman. That was another one too. And
Yeah.
the detailed story about Hoffa, and
Yeah,
you
that was
wonder
it.
why, how this came. I remember that. That's starting to click to me right now. Yes, Hoffa.
Yeah, the guy Joe Pro, which was the guy that Hoffa had the problems with. He was the one that was in jail and had the problems with Hoffa, Al Pacino, and he was the one that Al Pacino Hoffa met in South Florida. Anyway, the guy Joe Pro, he lived in the same subdivision, the same gated community as Ray did. But yeah, so I think it was kind of a sad story about karma. I mean, here he kills the guy out. Basically the day that they took the guy Jimmy that stole the 600 grand from him, they took him out. He had a 30-foot Scarab powerboat, and Ray just bought that for his wife just to take the kids around the intercoastal. But they brought the guy Jimmy over there, and when the day that they brought him out into the ocean into Port Everglades, they're in a 30-foot speedboat, and the seas are 8 to 10 feet. And this is kind of almost unheard of. These are ridiculous, huge swells, and usually the inlet is even worse. It's all chopped up and everything. So they didn't even take them. They didn't even take them a quarter mile out, past the inlet before, Ray basically told them, hey, get him up here, and Ray put a gun to his head and blew the dude's brains out.
Wow, that was
Yeah, and so he eventually went to court for it, and one of the guys that was on the boat with him, the guy Bobby Vegas, he had after Ray's kid had got killed, every time he would go home, all he thought about was his kid on the street. So kind of really screwed him up pretty bad in the head. And eventually, he moved back to Chicago, where he was originally from, where his mom and dad lived, and the guy Bobby Vegas that worked for him, he took off to California, and he had some problems out there where he got in some big trouble with the California police out there. So he told them so he could walk. Hey, I got a big coke dealer and out of Miami that I can set you up with. So he calls up Ray when Ray's up in Chicago, and Bobby Vegas is like, hey, I've got a lot of problems here in California. It's hard for me to make ends meet. And Ray's like, hey, no problem. I'm up here in Chicago. Come up here. I can get you a apartment. So Ray got him a car, apartment, furnished it, gave him a job. The whole time he's working for the feds. And he keeps asking Ray, hey, can you get me some coke? And Ray's like, no, all my coke's mine. You have to get your own coke. I got to get my shit from Miami. And so he couldn't get him any coke. So then the feds started pressuring the guy, Bobby Vegas. Then he's like, hey, I saw him blow a guy's brains out, And so he would go into Ray's bar there in Chicago, try to talk to Ray about it. Ray wouldn't say anything. So
okay. So basically, that's where the downfall came in. That's how he got arrested. So basically, that was the whole thing that just came down, and he served 15 years in prison. And that was what, 1982? Did you say 87? I'm trying to figure this out here.
Yeah, he got arrested on January, I believe it was like January 5th, 1984, and he got put on death row in 1985. So he spent 15 years on death row. He got off death row in 1999, and he passed away in 2017, I believe it was. So he spent a good amount of his life on death row, and he told me, he said for the first 4 years, 3.5, 4 years, all I was thinking about was the guy Jimmy Savoy that he shot, and He's like, I don't know why. I don't know why the guy just let him get to me so bad, And he didn't like, he wanted. Of course, it was about money, but it was more about betrayal because he was in a bar in South Florida called the Banana Boat. And he told one of the guys, he goes, you find Jimmy Savoy, I'll give you $100,000. You bring him to me dead or alive. And the guy was like, what about the money? You want the money? He goes, I don't give a shit about the money. I just want him. So it was definitely about betrayal.
That's really interesting as well too. And we'll talk more about the book, The King of Miami, and just a couple of things, just to clear up here. But first, listen to the Mike Wagner Show at themikewagnershow.com, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Looking at a professional website without breaking your budget? Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show, get 20% off your first project. Sonic Web Studios, take your image to the next level. Also, time to give official shout out to our official sponsor of the Mike Wagner Show, international warring author Mia Molson-Zia. If you love fast-paced mysteries, you love Missing by Mia Molson-Zia, available on Amazon in paperback and ebook. Missing is fast-paced and intriguing with an unforgettable twist. Takes place in 4 countries, 2 strangers, 1 target, where truth is illusion and those you love will be the first go missing. It's available on Amazon in paperback and ebook. Missing by Mia Molson-Zia has garnered great reviews and even loved and enjoyed by Howard celebrities, including Joanna Cassie, Forbes Riley, and many others. So grab your copy today for Goes Missing by Mia Molson-Zia, available on Amazon. Also, check out the Mike Wagner Show at themikewagnershow.com on over 40 podcast platforms, heard in over 100 countries, and also on hamiltonradio.net, Diamonds FM, Oldies Radio, and more. Take us with you on any mobile device. Subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel. Follow the Mike Wagner Show on Instagram and Twitter today. For great gift ideas, go to Amazon.com and check out the Mike Wagner Show podcast. And for more great gift ideas, go to Amazon.com/Mia Molson-Zia for great books, merchandise, and more. I'll support the Mike Wagner Show on Anchor FM, PayPal, and the mikewagnershow.com. Make sure you give generously today. We're here with a terrific gentleman, author Eric Sande of the book, The King of Miami, here on the Mike Wagner Show. And you spent some time in the drywall business. And what got you to transition going from drywall to being an author? So what was that point that made you simply state that you'll be working in drywall and you still do in a way? What made you do the transition going from drywall to being an author?
Well, I guess I'm still doing both of them, but I felt like the more I got into the story, the more it fascinated me. I started kind of learning a whole bunch of things about it. Like, for example, it's weird how things coincide, if you will. I guess the day when they announced that they were arresting the guy, Little Ray, my father had already got arrested from, selling cocaine to some undercover cops. And so we were in South Florida at that time. So when he got bonded out of jail, he knew he was going to be facing 15 years in prison. A bunch of my family lived up in the Daytona area. So he moved everybody up to Daytona. This is where we relocated. I started school in this area. And one day he's trying to work and get a bunch of money saved. So my stepmom would have money to take care of us while he's in prison. So he keeps trying to get his trial delayed. So he keep working and working. And in January, we were on Christmas break. So my father, he's going to drive to South Florida to meet his attorney. And he said, I'm going to take you with me. I said, okay, no problem. It was a Christmas break. So he drops me off at my buddy's house across the street from where we lived. And he said, I'm going to go talk to my attorney. You can put your buddy or whatever. And when I get back, I'll pick you up. Well, my buddy wasn't there. He was at baseball practice.
Oh.
So his dad was there. He said, hey, you can watch TV, and so we were watching something on TV. And next thing I know, this news broadcast comes over the airwaves and it says, the federal government and the state have come down, issued indictments for 13 individuals that are known to, run the largest smuggling operation known to the state of Florida. and they show Little Ray, and they start showing these people, and I didn't know any of them people. I knew who the guy Robert was, the guy that I grew up knowing, and I saw his face. He was one of the last people that they showed, and I just couldn't believe it. And so my dad, he shows up back at the house, and I tell my dad, hey, you can't believe, you wouldn't believe what I just saw on TV. I saw Robert on there, his whole operation. The police are wanting him. The government's, the whole operation's over. And this was like a news bulletin. That's how big it was down there at the time. They interrupted the show to say this. And so my dad, he goes over to the phone and pulls out his wallet and gets Robert's phone number. And this is back when the phones were, mounted on the wall.
I remember those days. Yes, and party lines too, and dial up prayer, whatever it is, dial this. I remember that, and slamming it. That was the ultimate comeback right there.
Yeah, but he went over there and he called the guy Robert on the phone, and Robert was in his house. And my dad was like, "Hey, Eric just saw you on the phone, or he just saw you on the TV. They're looking for you." And so Robert was like, "Oh my God, I can't believe it." So he just says thanks and hung up, and that was the last I saw the guy Robert. And I finally hooked up with him, I guess probably about 3 years ago. He lives up in Tennessee, but it was a long time after he got out of prison, and now he's just like a redneck guy out in the mountains, little redneck guy. But back then, he had boats, just like I said, every kind of toy a kid could imagine having. And motorcycles, 2-wheelers, 3-wheelers, jet skis, street rods, hot rods, brand new 7 Series BMW, brand new 911 Porsche, motor homes. I mean, the dude had everything, huge piece of property. I mean, he was living the life, and I couldn't believe it. So my uncle would always tell me about all the crazy stuff they were doing, and it really fascinated me. And in 2010, I was telling this guy about it, and he said, "You should write a book about it." And I said, "Well, I do know a guy that was an author, and he lived across the street from me. And when I got in touch with him, he had actually lived in Vegas. And I told him the story, and I paid him $15,000. And he wrote a story. It was a bunch of lies and kind of just a bunch of stuff that wasn't the truth, and I didn't want to deal with it. And I had a contract with a pretty good size, book publishing company in Vegas at the time. And he dragged his feet, didn't get the material done in time. And so I didn't meet the deadline for the contract, and the publisher, she got sick. So anyway, I ended up doing rewriting the whole thing myself. And as a person, from a kind of broken home, living all over the place, I didn't have enough credits to graduate 9th grade. But I've always been a person that wanted to learn more, and so it was quite a task to write this book. But I honestly believe that you can watch a movie or read a book or hear a story about something or somebody, and some of it you'll never forget in your whole life. This is some of the stuff. I mean, it absolutely is amazing. It's unbelievable. This guy was one of the most hardcore gangsters of our lifetime. I really, after learning so much stuff about him, I really believe that.
You also mentioned too that this book is almost like a cross between Blow and the Wolf of Wall Street. So what was like the story behind the description of between Blow and the Wolf of Wall Street, and of course being Lil Ray being like the Scarface of Miami.
Yeah, he was, and so this kind of gives it more of an intimate. I think the Blow. That guy, he had a little kid, his little daughter, and I think he totally betrayed his daughter, told he was going to straighten up, just total letdown to his daughter, and this guy was somebody that lived for his kids. And the day that he was buried, the guy Robert that I knew, well, he had Robert would come over to our house with these fancy cars and always partying, and sometimes my uncle would stay with us, sometimes my uncle would stay with them, sometimes he'd drop my uncle off all drunk, so I know they've been out all night partying, and they just lived crazy lives, but the guy Robert, he had a really good looking girlfriend, so she came over the house, me and my brothers, we were just like, we didn't know what to think. This woman's like 21 years old, tall, blonde, and then come over in a bikini when they get done at the beach, and we were just like in awe, But he had everything, he had the best life that I ever saw as a kid growing up. He had a lot of fun, but I also knew that when I was around him, it always seemed like, talking about Robert, it always seemed like he was nervous or something going on in the back of his mind, like he couldn't totally relax. And he had a chop shop. They all grew up in South Florida. So some of his friends would like work at the Chevy dealerships, and they'd have these big sales where people come there and test drive cars. Well, his buddy, would work there and give them the keys to like a brand new Corvette, and they'd go in there in the evening and go pick it up, and they just strip it, and basically they would put numbers off of a wrecked Corvette onto that one. And so I just remember being 12, 13 years old, driving in the back of a big old Chevy truck dually, and I know the thing's stolen. It's got swapped out numbers on it. And just, I don't know, it's kind of fun to me. I don't know. It sounds pretty sad, but kind of felt kind of cool,
And what do you think the one part that went wrong in the whole thing led to Lil Ray's downfall, and all the other people like Uncle Robert and all that? What was that one precise moment that started that downfall, and what would have been done to prevent it? Basically, it's like, one thing went wrong, it's like, what could have been done, like, to how do I put this, that like say it didn't happen, or something like that.
Well, I think when Ray's kid had got killed, the boy Charlie boy, when he was killed, Ray just couldn't take it anymore, so he moved up to Chicago. And I think the thing that messed him up was when the guy Bobby Vegas called him. And Ray not knowing that Bobby Vegas was working for the feds, because Bobby Vegas moved to California and became partners with a guy somehow that had a bunch of marijuana fields. Well, that guy ended up missing. So then there's another guy that comes in the picture, and Bobby Vegas has problems with him. Well, Bobby Vegas shoots at the guy's car, so that guy goes to the cops. So that's how Bobby Vegas got in a bunch of problems, and they started, basically threatening him. He's going to be doing some jail time. So he said, that's when he started saying he could produce to them a cocaine dealer out of Miami. And when, Ray told me he refused to sell him any cocaine, he said, "Hey man, I gotta get my stuff from, Miami. So I'm not selling any money. You have to get your own." So I think the Fed started putting pressure on him. The guy Bobby Vegas said, "Hey, you're saying this guy's a coke dealer, you ain't produced nothing." That's when he told him, "Hey, I watched him, blow the guy's brains out." So basically, when he told them that, he went to the guy Bobby Vegas. He went and saw Ray at Ray's bar, and he said, "Look, the Fed's been coming by my house. I'm really nervous. They stopped me and they're asking me about Jimmy Savoy." And Ray said, "Look, you don't have nothing to worry about, because if they had any proof, they had already done something. They're just fishing in the dark." Well, he was wearing a wire at that time, and he was still trying to get Ray to talk about it. And Ray just would never elaborate nothing on the murder or nothing, And so the guy, Bobby Vegas, he leaves, and probably about 5 minutes later, next thing Ray knows, he hears a bunch of tires squealing out there, like they slam on the brakes. He looks out the window. He sees a bunch of feds, cars into the driveway, and he takes off out the back of the building, and they had already had the place surrounded. And so I think that it's just a messed up deal, man. He trusted that guy, Bobby Vegas, and had he not ever given Bobby Vegas the time of day, he wouldn't have had any problems.
Mm-hmm. And what do you want the readers to get from the book?
I think it's a lesson of karma. I mean, as messed up it is I have kids, I have grandkids, and I think if somebody messes with them, I think we'll kill them or whatever, but I'm not sure if anybody's qualified to make that decision, even a judge,
Mm-hmm.
and Ray had a very, Roy Black, which is still a prominent attorney in Miami to this day. He basically, they didn't have any evidence whatsoever. They had one guy saying, "Hey, I saw Ray kill this guy," and the guy Bobby Vegas admitted to them that he had killed another guy as well for Ray. And I think it's a sad dose of karma, because when I would go meet Ray and I would talk to him over the years, it seemed like every time I brought up his son, I mean, his eyes would just start watering. And it made me think, because I've asked him before, I said, "You ever cry in here? You ever break down or anything?" And he's like, "No," because you just can't do that in here. This ain't the place for that.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But when I would ask him about his kid, Charlie boy, and here's a guy that's like in his 80s, and I can just see and he's an old dude, I see his eyes start watering, and shit, man, I feel bad about asking him about it, and I'm like, damn, man, why'd I ask him about it? But it's like some things I just wanted to know, but I thought so bad asking him. But I think that the accident when his son was killed, I think the car hit him, and he probably didn't feel anything after that, and Ray going out there, actually picking the kid up, holding him in his arms till the ambulance gets there, then riding an ambulance to the hospital, knowing his son's dead. I just don't know how you get any worse.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. And of course, that's, something to be said as well, too. And where can we find your book at The King of Miami, Eric?
That's at ericsande.author.com.
Okay. All right. We'll certainly check that out. What's coming up for Eric Sande in 2022? We'll find out just 1 minute. You listen to The Mike Wagner Show at themikewagnershow.com, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Also brought to you by official sponsor of The Mike Wagner Show, international war-ring author Mia Molson's The Missing, available on Amazon and paperback and ebook. We'll be back with author Eric Sande of the book, The King of Miami, after this time.
The Mike Wagner Show is powered by Sonic Web Studios. If you're looking to start or upgrade your online presence, visit www.sonicwebstudios.com for all of your online needs. Call 1-800-303-3960 or visit us online at www.sonicwebstudios.com to get started today. Mention The Mike Wagner Show and get 20% off your project. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level.
Hey everybody, my name is Forbes Riley, and I'm an American actress and a TV host. And I was delighted when I got my copy of Missing, which is Extraordinary Relation of Ordinary People based on a real life relationship. It's well written. It's amazing. It talks about a man who has lost his wife and his daughter, and it's very well done. I'm going to highly recommend that you go get your copy of Missing. It is a powerful, exciting read. Mr. Mian Moshe Zia. He is the author of Missing. And I want to give a big shout out and a kiss all the way halfway around the world to my dear friend. Check him out at Mia's website. It's called www.miamoshenzea.com. Missing, available on Amazon. Again, I'm Forbes Riley, and I will see you again soon. Bye-bye.
Hey, this is Ray Powers, and boy, are you in luck. Right place, right time. Tuned in to The Mike Wagner Show. You heard me.
We're back with author Eric Sande of The King of Miami here on The Mike Wagner Show. And what can we expect from you in 2022 and beyond, Eric?
As far as a book?
And like in future projects, will it be a sequel or like an offshoot, anything similar like that?
I don't think it'll be anything similar to this. Be something more peaceful. But I think this book, I mean, what I'm hoping for is, my goal, what I've always hoped for is I'd love to see somebody be able to play the role of Ray Thompson. I honestly believe it's an Oscar role. I mean, anybody that can replicate that day where this guy's been up for 6 days snorting coke, and he's not just some crackhead or whatever. This guy's a businessman, and he's going to go kill this guy that he feels the ultimate amount of betrayal, and out on a boat where it's 10-foot seas, and they put him on the boat. I think that would be amazing to see that. And another interview they asked me, who do I think could play that role? What I would have thought it would have been awesome for James Caan to play the older Ray and his son Scott to play the younger Ray, but
interesting.
Yeah, James had just passed away, but I tell you, somebody that could pull it off would be Mark Wahlberg. That guy, I've seen him in the movie Fear, like one of his first movies, and man, he was a scary dude in that movie. He pulled it off. He did an awesome fucking job, man. But I think it takes somebody really awesome actor to pull off that scene, and he shot the guy with a 38 with hollow points in it. I know it sounds disgusting, but for some reason I just would like to be able to see that scene to where they're bringing the guy up on the side of a scarab, and they put his feet over the side of it, and you got these 10-foot seas, and he shoots the guy, and then they push his body into the water, and this is clear water. I mean, this is like of course that day was rough, so it wouldn't be as clear, but to be able to just see like a 360, like a drone footage of that scene, or maybe from the front where he shoots the guy and they push him over, and seeing his body being pulled down to the bottom through the clear water. I mean, I know it sounds disgusting, but that's kind of what makes this story so amazing to me, is that the heinous way that he killed the guy is like amazing to me. It's just so sick and disgusting from somebody. It's just not a cold-blooded murder. Just go kill somebody. This guy has his faculties together. He's got a business. He's got a family. He's got kids, and to do that scene would be pretty amazing. I think that's about as intense as I could ever imagine seeing in a scene.
And we sure hope it does gets to film as well too. We'd love to check that out. And who to consider biggest influence in your career, Eric?
When you say his career,
or just saying, who's your biggest influence? Not just career, but just about in anything.
No, I have a few big influences. Was a guy that was one of the biggest drywall contractors in Florida. He was one of my big influences in life. But I'd have to say that being around that kind of money as a kid, I mean, my father, like I said, he got into the drug trade, and I think it was his first deal he ever did. He got busted. I remember he had guys come over to our house. He would pick up these Bahamian guys. These, just really dark black dudes, but they wear white suits. And he would pick them up with the Chalks airline, which Chalks was an airline that flew from back and forth to Bahamas to Miami. And he would meet them there at the Chalks, right where they'd get off the airplane. They'd have to go through a metal detector. And I'm not even bullshitting, man. These guys had almost as much jewelry on as Mr. T. Do you remember? I swear to God, man,
Yeah, man.
each one of them have like probably. My dad said it would take him 10 minutes just to take all his jewelry off to go through the metal detectors, and he'd come in with 2 briefcases. One would be full of cocaine, and one would be full of cash. And he said they'd never ever asked to look in the briefcases. All he did was take all his jewelry off, go through the metal detector, put it all back on, and take his briefcases. And so they would come by. They came by our house, and it was one of the Super Bowls. And my dad, he didn't do any cocaine or smoke, drink. He didn't do none of that stuff, man. Totally straight dude,
Nice.
But he seen the money, and he picked them up one time. There was a Super Bowl. It was in 1983. It was in Tampa. I believe it was 1983 in Tampa. And so they came over the house. He picked them up. They went and got a motor home, and they paid him like $4,000. They said, "Hey, if we pay you $4,000, will you drive us over to Tampa so we can go to the Super Bowl?" My dad's like, "Of course, And we meet these guys, and they got all this freaking jewelry on, and like a solid gold Rolex, but you can't even tell it's gold because it's just filled with diamonds.
Oh my gosh!
Just unbelievable amounts of. One of the guys' his nickname was Jet, and he had an emblem that was like 6 inches long, and it said Jet on his necklace. And it was just all diamonds. But they told my dad, "Hey, let your sons come with us, and he's like, no, I'm not. I can't let them go." And years later, my dad was like, "Yeah, they wanted you guys to go." He goes, "But there's no way." He goes, "They were driving down the road, and they're sitting there at the table at the as I'm driving the motorhome, they got a big old mound of cocaine there, And he's like, "Hell no, I can let my kids be around that shit."
Oh my gosh!
But it was just amazing the stuff that that we seen back then.
Mm-hmm. And certainly was. And what's the best advice you can give to anybody at this point?
As far as advice, as far as
just in general.
I'm not following you on that one.
I said, what's the best advice you can give to anybody at this point, even about the book, the story, or just anything in general?
Oh, I would say that no matter what somebody does to you, I don't believe it's worth killing them over, basically, because he paid the worst karma you could imagine for it, I believe, from losing his son 9 months later to a couple of years after that, put on death row. I don't think it's ever right to take somebody else's life. Is kind of the main thing I got from it.
Right, yeah, and that's something we shouldn't do as well too. Once again, we're with author Eric Sande at the King of Miami here on the Mike Wagner Show. Eric, a very big thank you for your time. You've been absolutely fantastic. Learned a lot from you. Great story. Looking forward to having you again soon. Make sure you keep us up to date. Keep in touch. Glad to have you back. Once again, what's your website? How do people contact you? Where can people purchase or check out your book, The King of Miami?
So I really appreciate that, sir. It's ericcurtissande.author.com. Thank you very much for your support, sir.
We'll certainly do so. Once again, Eric, a very big thank you for your time. You've been absolutely amazing. Looking forward to having you soon. Just keep us up to date. Keep in touch. Glad to have you back. We wish you all the best. You've got a great future ahead of you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
The Mike Wagner Show is powered by Sonic Web Studios. If you're looking to start or upgrade your online presence, visit www.sonicwebstudios.com for all of your online needs. Call 1-800-303-3960 or visit us online at www.sonicwebstudios.com to get started today. Mention The Mike Wagner Show and get 20% off your project. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level.
Hey everybody, my name is Forbes Riley, and I'm an American actress and a TV host. And I was delighted when I got my copy of Missing, which is Extraordinary Relation of Ordinary People based on a real life relationship. It's well written. It's amazing. It talks about a man who has lost his wife and his daughter, and it's very well done. I'm going to highly recommend that you go get your copy of Missing. It is a powerful, exciting read. Mr. Mian Moshe Zia. He is the author of Missing. And I want to give a big shout out and a kiss all the way halfway around the world to my dear friend. Check him out at Mia's website. It's called www.miamoshenzea.com. Missing, available on Amazon. Again, I'm Forbes Riley, and I will see you again soon. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to The Mike Wagner Show. Brought to you by international award-winning author Mia Mohsen-Zia of Missing. And powered by Sonic Web Studios. Be sure to join us again on over 40 podcast platforms. And of course on the mikewagnershow.com, hamiltonradio.net, and Diamonds FM. Don't forget to support our program with a generous donation at themikewagnershow.com. Thanks for listening.